Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about something that's just a typical thing that most people don't think about. Training in your school. Wow. What a miraculous idea, right? And just in case you're looking at what I'm wearing, Gene Simmons. So, here, your academy is your home. You ever heard that expression, don't shit where you eat? When you're at your academy, your goal is to train, to learn, and to experiment. This is the place where you try new things and make mistakes without worrying about anything. You don't do that in competition, right? You don't do that at a tournament. There you bring your A game and you do what you know how to do, and that's it. You don't try new things there. At your academy, this is where you get to experiment, work with new concepts, and you start to evolve your game there. It's not about, oh man, yeah, what'd you do last night? Man, I got 7 tap outs. Word, man, I got tapped out 3 times, but it's okay, they were higher belts. But everybody that I went with, I rolled with, I tapped out everybody at my level. Yeah, oh, a new guy who came, it was his first class, I got him in a heel hook and I popped his knee. It's like, this is some of the bullshit you hear sometimes. And this is why I actually am making this video. You should not be aiming at hurting anybody in your school. And nobody should be trying to do that to you. Everybody should be trying to help everybody train the best way possible and to keep each other safe. This is what should be the goal there. At your academy, this is where you get to learn, experiment, and try out new things without worrying about anything. You're not in a competition. If you go for a new sweep and you mess up and that person passes your guard, you keep going for that sweep till you finally get it. Or if that person passes a certain way, you figure out a counter to that pass and you continue to move forward. You know, your jiu-jitsu, once you get to purple belt, you should think of yourself as water in a river going downhill, right? The water never stops at a rock. It goes around it and keeps going around it till it finally reaches the ocean. If you look at any Greek grapplers, especially Marcelo Garcia, you knew what he was going to do, but you couldn't stop it. Because every counter you had, he had a counter for it and he kept moving forward till he got you back and choked you out. So when you're training at your school, you're not trying to kill people there. I know there's some people who are aggressive. I know there's sometimes you're a white belt, you want to get that tap, and that's all great. But you should be there to train and not to hurt each other. That's the number one thing. If you hurt somebody, they don't come back. It not only takes money away from the school, it also takes away one less person that should be training jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu should be for everyone. Tongue twister, right? It should be for everybody. And this is why it's dangerous for some people to go start doing jiu-jitsu once they start to hit their 40s and stuff. Because if they're not in a controlled environment and it's very competitive and it's very barbaric, they're gonna get injured. This person most likely has a family to take care of, a job to go to, and the next thing you know, they're like, oh yeah, you know, a few years later, it's like, oh, I used to do jiu-jitsu. Oh really, why'd you stop? Yeah, I got hurt. I kept getting hurt, you know, people were very aggressive. I couldn't even try anything because everybody's trying to beat me up. I was the fresh meat. It shouldn't be like that, okay? Especially if you're training in a school and you know that person's a lot older than you, have respect for them. You know, try to train with them in a way where you know you're not purposely trying to hurt them. Yeah, you could go for the submission, but you don't go for anything that's just crazy and crippling. When you're training, you should really be mindful of your classmates. The teacher should actually be the one creating an environment that everybody understands and follows. If you get the reckless person that comes in and doesn't fit in the school, you get the mat enforcer there to get rid of that person where you pretty much beat them up by tapping them out like crazy and they won't probably want to come back. But otherwise, the school should be an environment for growth. Just like a college, you go there to learn, to educate yourself, to grow, right? So your academy should be the same way. When you're training for competition and you're in a competition class, that's different. Okay, everybody's bringing their A game and trying to see how it will work in a setting where people are a little bit more conditioned and maybe a little more aggressive because it's a competition class. But in a regular class, it shouldn't happen. The only time you might experience a little bit of hostility or somebody trying to really go after you is when you go to an open mat where there's people from all different schools, or if you go to a seminar and then they have open mat and it's all different schools. That's a different story because you don't know the people and they might want to try to prove something of their school and the value of their school, that they're all tough guys and are all good and are able to finish people. And this is a different thing, so depending on your skill level, maybe you should avoid that, right? Not going to open mat right away where there's a lot of people from different schools going to that one place. Because you could have somebody rent out a gymnasium and just say open mat, and everybody in the tri-state area could go there and compete or train, from different schools. So this is something you have to watch out for. But in a class and school setting, nobody should be trying to hurt each other. People should be trying to learn. And the same thing, if you do hurt somebody by accident, that's a different thing. People slip, it's not intentional. That's the most important thing, it shouldn't be intentional. But if you notice you're a little clumsy or something, you got to work on it. You have to work on being a little more graceful. If you notice you're crushing the person and that person's a lot lighter and you're just trying to go for a roll and flow, learn to take some weight off of them. Give them a little opportunity to move. If you're like a 350-pound guy and you always pass a guy and you get cross-eyed and you go for a shoulder lock, it's like, what kind of jiu-jitsu are you really learning? I know you're probably not going to be able to do your guard, but try different things. Everybody should be trying and experimenting with different things in their school because that's the place to do it. That's your research lab. That's where it's okay to make mistakes. That's a place where it's okay to try new things. Don't get down on yourself if you're trying something new and you're not good at it yet. As you keep working on it, you will get better at it. When you take a class, everybody learns the move. You practice the move with no resistance, but with the right energy. And then the teacher says, oh, give him a little more resistance. Okay, now let's go. Start from this position, go all out. Of course, you're not trying to hurt the person, but the person knows what you're going for, not letting you go for it. This is a normal way of progression. Okay, so how do you train? Depending on your belt level. Of course, if you're a white belt, you're in survival mode going with anybody who's been there for a while. So your whole thing isn't really worried about focusing on tapping out the person. Your whole thing should be worrying about putting yourself in the right position when you're at a disadvantage. You should be focusing on escapes and protecting yourself where you could last a little bit longer. Think about reversals. These are the things you should be trying to do as a white belt. You only have so much to work with, but the person gets mounted, you go, okay, I'm gonna go for elbow escape. I'm gonna go for the upa. I'm gonna try to trap their arm. I'm gonna make sure my elbows don't come high up so they don't get high on me. They're cross-eyed. Where do I put my arms so I don't put myself in a position to get my arm taken for an arm bar or a kimura or a shoulder lock or anything like that? Keep my hands to myself. These are the things you should be going over. As you start to progress, things will change. Now you're going from blue to purple belt. You're trying to link things together. So as you start to do that, you start to see how the person reacts and you start to figure out counters to that. But also you should still be working on your escape. So if you happen to be one of the better persons in the class and nobody puts you in a position that you might be, getting submitted, put yourself in the position and work on escaping from there. Of course, other person's gonna get a mat high where they're like, oh my God, I almost got so-and-so today, and he's a purple belt or a blue belt. It's like, I got his back. It's like, well, you don't have to bust their bubble, but it's like, yeah, let them get your back so you can work on escaping from those positions. These are the things that keep you getting better, And I remember when I was at Gracie Barra in Brazil in 2004, that's when everybody was still there. It wasn't Gracie Barra like it is now at all the different schools. But I saw a blue belt finish a black belt, not because the blue belt was better. The black belt put them in a compromising position to see if they could escape, and it was already too deep, and he had a tap. Nobody cried, nobody cared. The blue belt didn't get up and start dancing and say, yes, I should be a black belt now. No, this is how you train. This is your school. This is where you practice stuff. This is where you make mistakes, and this is where you get better. Then when you go compete, it's a totally different ball game. So nobody should be going to the school trying to hurt people, beat people up, worried about how many taps that they got. Your whole thing should be trying to train safely in the safest way you can, which jiu-jitsu is kind of dangerous, but in a way where you're getting better and you're helping your classmates get better, because as they get better, your jiu-jitsu will also. If you keep everything as a secret and you just focus on yourself getting better and not sharing anything with anybody else, yeah, you'll start to get here, they'll get here, but next thing you know, you're not going to get any better because they're not a challenge anymore. How's that going to help you grow, especially if you're not in a big school? So train in a smart way that will help you keep advancing and growing skill-wise. Otherwise, if you're just going there to finish people, your jiu-jitsu is going to plateau very quickly. And then eventually those people that you were finishing are going to still be advancing with their skill level, and next thing you know, you're not going to beat a hammer anymore, you're going to beat a nail. And you're going to get frustrated. You're going to go, man, why am I getting better? It's not because of the school, it's because of your mentality. So, you want to keep training so you keep moving forward. And remember, if you see the same guys there 5 days a week, and that person's here and you're here, it might go like this. You might never catch them. Okay, if they get hurt, they're out for a year or so. Now, finally come back and you're here. But otherwise, you go, oh, why am I not getting better? You are getting better, but so are they at the same time. And what's that expression, right? Mind your own business. Focus on yourself, on your technique and your skill level and your understanding of the positions, and try to evolve there and grow. But remember, your school is your place to learn and make the mistakes. So as you are more mindful of trying not to hurt the person, especially if you get them in a heel hook, if you hold it for a few seconds and they didn't get out, they don't need to tap. Especially if the person is stubborn. Why are you going to hurt them? There's no reason for that. Okay? So the whole moral of this is use your school as a place to develop your skills. Don't go there thinking, oh, I got to tap this many people. Just go there to learn. Practice the stuff that you learned during the week, what you learned last week, what you learned 6 months ago that you might have not done in a while, and from here, use these opportunities to help you train better so you continue to get better. And then from there, you'll be able to train more safely, your skills will start to develop, and then from there, the belts will start to come. All right, so keep training hard, but train smarter, not harder. Help everybody that you can within your school, the people that you train with, so they get better and you continue to get better and the school grows as a whole. Keep practicing.